The Global Systems Institute has done a huge amount of work on climate tipping points, which are really scary things. What we're also now looking at are what we would describe as positive tipping points. So we look at things that could change, that would make things better. So for instance, if everyone had solar panels on their roofs, or if all transportation was electric, what difference would that make? And of course we know that at some point in the future, we won't be using fossil fuels anymore. Whether it's 2050, as is the aspiration, or whether it's 2100, which would be a disaster, at some point we'll stop using them. So the question is, how can we accelerate? How can we get to a tipping point more early with intentional investment and change to make that happen earlier than would otherwise be the case? So for instance, how can we develop means of storing renewable energy so you don't just get it when the sun's shining or the wind is blowing? And there we have social change, which is when does it become not just acceptable, but the done thing, the thing that everyone would do to move to electric transportation, to move to renewable energy for their homes. And there's a combination of factors in that. And so some of it is social change, behavior. And there you're very much looking at two elements, and different disciplines will look at it in different ways. But essentially, I think about it in terms of reducing friction and increasing motivation. So increasing motivation will be partly, what's everyone else doing, and what's the education like, are the stories that we're telling hitting people in an emotional way so they recognize that they'll be in a safer space if they make changes. And partly the friction is reducing costs. So of course, in Norway, it's been cheaper to buy electronic vehicles than combustion engine vehicles for some time. Now more than half of the market for new cars in Norway is EV. So you can prompt these tipping points, and what we're trying to learn is, what are the key tipping points that we could perhaps influence? Can we get signals for when something's approaching a tipping point, or amenable to being tipped by levers that we know how to pull? Because that might, as well as being very positive for sustainability, create amazing investment opportunities for people who can innovate.